Hi, welcome to the Shelley Studio. Today I am working on my mission inspiration for July. That is from Mike Deacon's Mission Inspiration Facebook group. I will link it in the description box below. It's a list of prompts, and the first prompt is glue strips of newspaper or magazine. This is a magazine that comes in the mail. I just found areas where it was just text and figured that would work for my strips. There are also, there's 8 prompts, and then there's 5 different words. You can pick and choose what you want to do. I always try to do all 8 prompts because I like the challenge. And then I usually pick one word from the word prompts, but I think I kind of use 3. Sort of. So the words are flight, orange, trace, rise, and talk. And yeah, so I am just gluing strips down. I'm using my golden matte medium to do that. I decided that would be the best way to do it, since the next prompt is to cover with a thin wash of color. So I'm going to add water and paint. The best thing to use is some sort of matte medium that's going to seal it up. And I'm using, this is like a makeup tool that I got. I've seen people using, and so I'm using that to apply the strips of paper. The only issue is it doesn't cover, like, I wasn't thinking about it either. I was just going for gluing down the paper, right? I didn't think about the resist factor. So when you use a matte medium or any kind of acrylic medium or paint, it kind of acts as a resist. So when I let this dry, so I did add a few lines of words, and it's actually a Shakespeare Festival magazine, and so there's Shakespeare lines. There's only one that didn't get completely covered up, and it says, "What a rogue and peasant." They were just random. I was just picking random. The others end up covered up, so I couldn't tell you what they said. So here's the thing I was trying to point out. When you use a medium on your paper and not get it everywhere, it's going to, the next layer is going to absorb the paint differently. Lighter where it resists and darker where it absorbs into the paper. So you can see on the right hand side, you can see sort of a light and dark area. It'll be a lot more apparent on the left hand side of the page, the left hand page, because that was all white and it's easier to see where some of the areas, you can see the light streaks going through there. That's the resist. Now it's fun to use that as a technique and like create something, but here it just kind of looks messy. So I do a couple of layers to try and hide that sort of blotchy factor. But it actually would be kind of a fun thing to experiment with. It just wasn't looking right for this particular page. And in the end, I mean, the colors are all uneven, but I don't think the blotchiness is a factor at all. And I do let that dry thoroughly before moving on. So see it, now it's dry. The next prompt is to add random stamping. This wasn't really random. It was more like stamp everywhere. And since it was so dark, I decided to use my white ink stamp. It worked really good in the darker areas, not as much in the lighter. So it kind of looks random. But yeah, I got this white stamp pad on clearance, and it's kind of cool. And this stamp block is probably French. It's not really legible. It just makes for interesting background. And you'll see when I put it over the darker blue, it'll really stand out. It'll be cool. I do hold it there for a while, hoping that it's gonna turn out okay. But yeah, it does. Yeah, see? Alright, so the next prompt was to add, I think it's add marks with your fingers. So this is black paint, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my fingers, so I decided just to give it a bottom, like weight to the bottom. So I'm adding the black along the bottom just to give it more weight on the bottom, I guess. That's all I could think of at the time that I wanted to do, because I've already decided what I'm going to do with my focal image. So I thought this would work okay. So the next prompt is add color through a stencil, and these are my butterfly masks from PM Artist Studios, and I'd been using them recently, so I had them handy and just decided, well, and not to hint, but my focal image, anyway, this will kind of just repeat what's going to be happening in the focal image. Yeah. It's real subtle because it's the same color, so we're just adding, I think it's the same color. So I'm just adding more depth to the color. And it just makes for an interesting background. I left the black there. I was going to add a little black to it to make it darker, but I think I end up just using the blue, and it works good. You can see it, I think. And it kind of detracts from that blotchiness, right? There we go. Alright, so I let that dry, and then now it's time to glue on the focal image. And I'd been jelly printing the butterflies, so I cut out a couple of the orange print. And there is a video. The last video I did was the butterfly gel printing last Saturday, so I'll try to remember to link it in case you're interested in seeing how I printed the butterflies. And when you're using 2 pages, it's always hard to figure out how to make it across that divide. So I just push it down in there with a card. And then this one, I wanted it right where the seam is, the gutter. So yeah, I offset it a little bit more so that it's not quite down the center, but it's close. Again, pushing that down into the gutter. And this I did do with glue stick because I don't intend to put any paint over the top of it. So I figured it would be fine. Now I wanted them to stand out a little bit more, and so I'm going around them with my Stabilo All pencil and just adding some of that, and then I will blend it out with some of the matte medium just to create a little bit of shading around them. I get drawing and I get kind of heavy-handed, and I'm like, wait, this stuff can be darker than you expect, so you don't want to go too crazy. So now just pulling out the brush, getting a little bit of the matte medium, I'm just going to blend it out. And see how dark that got? Yeah. I just think it's a great way to create that lift, to lift the objects off the page. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day. It's been a nice day here today. I just got back from a reunion with some of my cousins on my dad's side. It's fun to get to see them and talk for a while. They live all over the place, so it's we don't get together much. It's fun to hear what they're doing and talk about family and memories. Trying to do this without smearing the Stabilo and the matte medium onto the butterflies. Alright, so the next part is add poetry, quote, or I don't know. Anyway, I wanted to find something with the word rise, and I saw decide to rise in part of a quote, so I just went with decide to rise. So see, there's the word rise, and then there's orange, and then flight, because they're butterflies, right? So they're flying. Alright, so the last part is to create a border or frame. This is the leftovers from around the orange butterflies, so I'm just cutting down some strips and figured I would kind of frame the outside with it. Then I decided they were a little thick, so I'm going to cut them in half to make them even skinnier. And my large butterfly is going quite close to the edge, so I don't want to go over that, so it will just kind of go up close to it. But if you're not familiar with Mission Inspiration, maybe check out Mike Deacon's channel and go to his Facebook group. They'll let you in. They're pretty nice. He has a main prompt every month, and then he has smaller prompts throughout the month. And yeah, it's a lot of fun to have a community that you can see what everybody's doing, how they interpret the prompts and what they do with it each month. And yeah, and they're all pretty friendly over there. Alright, and I think I just use glue stick with this. And I'm just gonna give it kind of a frame. Enough of a border that you'll know it's a border. And I kind of like the way the orange contrasts with the blue. And I've actually finished my next project, which it'll be a while before it's out, but yeah, it has orange and blue in it too. I'm on a roll, I guess, with the color. That little teeny tube of paint I was using is all gone. Like, I've used all that color. It had a different name. It was similar to indithyrine, but I think it was like more of a phthalo blue. But, well, I'm just about done. I hope you liked this video. If you liked it, leave me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. Love to hear your comments. I try to reply back to everybody. Yeah, and check out Mike Deacon's channel, and if you want to see how those butterflies were made, I'll link that below too, and you can check that one out. Thank you all for watching. Have an awesome day.